Do you know what time it is?
Hey, Matt. No.
Wow. Well, it is that time of the month.
Macabre Monthly.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yay. It's the most macabre time of the month. Hey. All right. Anyway,
Got my
Happy New
yes sir
Year.
on point. Yeah. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. It's 2024. We're trying new things, new people. Well, not new people, just, we all think we emerge anew in this new year. But anyway, let's cut to the chase. Lowell, how you been?
I've been all right. Got through the holidays, watched a bunch of Christmas horror, and now I'm in January, and as we all are, and it's weird. It's cold, but it's no longer festive. I don't like it. I don't
Yeah.
know who does. Yeah.
I we took down all of our holiday decorations last week, and now the living room predominantly looks quite bare. And we also don't have we don't turn off our front lights on our porch. So I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure our house looks haunted from the outside, which is fine. No one wants
Mhm.
to fuck with a haunted house. But glad to hear you
Cold.
survived the holidays.
Nice. You too.
Um yeah, holidays are good. It's cold, but things are warming up for Giallo January. I don't know. It is Giallo January. It's the best part of January, and if you ask me, and yeah, got a little something planned. Hopefully next week to talk a little bit more about those. But yeah, now we're in a new year, new movies to watch, new things to
Mhm.
get excited about.
And you have a new podcast that you're part of. The Are we
Yes,
allowed that?
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. The
My phone dropped in excitement.
yeah, see, the phone was like, ah, I'm so glad to hear this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Core 4 podcast. And we just had our first episode come out on the first, and then we're gonna, I think, shoot for two episodes a week, or sorry, not a week, wow, a month. And yeah, having a lot of fun doing it. It's what happens when you meet strangers on the internet. And you're like 99.9% sure they're not weirdos, or they're at least they're the good kind of weirdo. And I think that's the case here. So
I would think it's 100% sure they are the good kind of weirdo. Because if
yes,
they're not,
yes, 100% sure.
then you're either talking to a bad weirdo or you're just talking to bread, just boring
Yeah.
old bread. But they
Yeah.
seem cool. It's like we're listening to like Attack of the Queer Wolf. It's like you guys have good banter.
Thank you. Thank you. And I like to think we bring a lot of different perspectives and certainly age ranges. I think I'm being the elder horror person in the group. Even though I'm not old,
We're elder
sometimes your
millennials.
seed's just been around a little longer. Yes, we are the elder millennial, the not quite Gen Xer, but the just barely millennialer who is constantly having an evolving existential crisis. But nevertheless,
We had AIM screen names.
God, and we sure did really make the best of them, didn't we? For what we had.
What was yours? Can I ask you what was yours?
Uh, Meat Puppet 64.
Nice. Meat spelled MEAT.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know where it came from, actually. I think I heard the band Meat Puppet, and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty interesting name. And
the Meat
so,
Puppet. Yep, you're a charter
yeah.
member. I had just seen the film Hackers, so I made mine Blade 85, Blade with a Y.
There we go.
Yeah, yep,
That is timeless, really.
yeah.
At least it wasn't Hack the Planet, 69. So it could have been the person who got that gem.
X Hack the Planet 69 420X. Yep.
Yeah.
That person absolutely existed somewhere.
Yeah, it's like an Xbox gamer tag at this point. It's like a 12-year-old somewhere who's using language that I still don't know what it means. So new slang, new slurs that I haven't heard yet. So
God, there's there's always new slurs coming down the pipe.
yeah,
It's
there
really
really
hard
is.
with all of them.
And especially if you're trying to keep up with like words of the year and things like that, like I know Webster's and Cambridge do their kind of, oh, this is the word of 2023. And sometimes they're new or they're adding words that are like part of the Gen Z lexicon. And it's like, ah, ah, we're
Good for
doing it
them.
again. No,
Yeah.
totally. I'm not gonna yuck their yum by any means, but it's more just like we keep taking words and changing their meanings. I'm not a linguistics connoisseur by any means, but I'd be fascinated to know how this is changing our language over time. And will we sound like idiocracy because of it? I don't know.
It's got what plants crave.
Yeah, it's
Like,
got, I mean, yeah. Brando,
honestly, I've given up on learning new slang because by the time I learn it, it's going to be old again, and I don't need some jackass online making fun of me for using Riz unironically.
yeah,
So it's charisma, but
yeah.
you kids have fun with it.
And maybe I've reached a point where because I don't know the slurs, I'll just take them as compliments.
I don't think that one was a slur, but yeah,
No,
that's
no,
if
no.
they happen to be slurs. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Or just take everything
Why?
as a compliment. Someone's like, hey, that's I don't know. I see I can't even ironically use one. I'm gonna move on from the topic before I dig this hole deeper.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Uh
Google, but it sounds new and interesting to me. So sure, put it in my cap and never speak of it again. Yep.
that be no cap, Lowell? No cap? Okay.
Hey,
I will show myself out. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Try the veal.
the 9 o'clock show is
Anyways.
totally different from the 7 o'clock show.
Yes. And the 2 for 1 does not extend to the people here for happy hour. So, um, anyways, what have you been watching over this holiday break into this brand new year?
I watched It's a Wonderful Knife second time.
So did I. Oh, a second time. Okay.
Yeah,
First time.
because I saw it the day it came out and I liked it, but then I watched it again to show my wife because we watched It's a Wonderful Life, and I liked it better the second time. Still not entirely sure about some of the plot holes, but just a good horror comedy. Did I tell you? Also in real quick, I rewatched Black Xmas, which is fantastic. Doesn't even try to be like the original Black Christmas, and just a great mid-aught slasher. But you saw It's a Wonderful Knife.
I did. It was one of those I was kind of saving up for up to close to the Christmas holiday. I
Mm-hmm.
had this whole idea I was going to do this like Christmas slash-a-thon for my in-law who was visiting with her boyfriend, but I backed down. I felt like making them watch some things that I had planned wasn't maybe the best use of their time here. So anyway, but I did watch it anyway, and I liked it. I certainly can understand people's problems with it. I think that there's some parts of it that feel a little too kind of corny for their own good, but I also feel like that was highly intentional. So I guess it's kind of, you know, it's if it's not your shade of color, then maybe it's just not your thing. But I liked it. I don't think I'll rewatch it. I don't think it's one I'll kind of come back to often. But also, I'm not a huge It's a Wonderful Life fan. Not because it's a bad movie, just
You
you
don't
know,
have a soul. I got it.
no, just it was not part of like the circulation for me at any point in my life. Like none of my family watched it. It wasn't really. In fact, I think the only way I watched it was we had an old VHS of it, and like I just was a curious kid, so I just watched it one time. I'm like, oh, this movie's sad as shit. So my little like 5-year-old ADHD brain is like, no, this is not gonna do. But good. I've rewatched it since. It's a good story. Obviously, time was classic, beautifully told, good morals. Very
Nice.
idealistic, but
Mm.
still no
Yeah,
soul.
I just got to say about It's a Wonderful Knife. As much as I liked it, and I put Totally Killer on my 10 best of the year. I love the Happy Death Day movies, also written by the guy who wrote It's a Wonderful Knife. But I think we need to put a pin in the it's blank as a slasher movie thing, like time travel slashers, alternate reality slashers. I've honestly liked the ones that I've seen, but I have a feeling that it's going to go downhill quickly.
It's a short
So
fuse to disaster. Like,
yeah, and we're not at disaster, but disaster's coming. Kind of like when Stranger Things came out. When are the kids on bike thing? When is that gonna fizzle out? And Stranger Things is still great, but that Child's Play remake is aping it really hard, and it sucked. But yeah. What were we talking about?
What
And
else have
Black
you
Christmas.
seen? Black
What
Christmas,
else?
yeah.
I haven't seen a. Oh, I watched Aquaman 2, which just it was just fun. It was just low stakes fun. And James Wan, there's a scene in it where someone takes a picture with an old style camera, and he makes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sound and the special effects, and I'm just like, my man, like just the good kind of Easter egg. But yeah, I guess it's kind of more of a superhero movie, but I mean, it is a superhero movie, but it is still definitely a James Wan movie. It's got some horror in it, and yeah, um, I'm like, let the DCEU die, but it was better than Ant-Man Quantumania. Um, and if I can go on, I haven't seen much horror since I spoke to you last, but if I could go on a slight tangent, it's not quite horror, although some would argue that it is sort of a backwards horror movie. Have you seen The Iron Claw?
No, I really, really want to,
Okay.
but I just
I,
haven't gotten to the theater to see it, and it's not on home streaming yet.
yeah. It is sort of a horror movie because it's this. I don't know wrestling at all. I didn't know this
I
family
know, yeah, I
story.
know about the Von Erich
The,
brothers,
the
yeah,
curse. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, it feels like it could be a horror movie if it wasn't like based on reality. But I was so frustrated when it was over. I decided it was like a 3-star movie, but like for most of it, I was like 4 stars. I'm like, this is one of the best movies of the year. And then it just kind of puttered out. And it still ends as a good movie, but it was just so frustrating. I'm like, no, you had it. You had it, like you had the conch in your hands. And yeah, and I want to talk to someone else who saw it because I'm just like, it could have been great. Though Zac Efron is great and should absolutely be nominated. But that's not a horror movie, technically, though it technically is.
I mean,
So,
one
what
could
about
argue that the lives of wrestlers is pretty horrific. If you've ever watched well, if you say you're not a big wrestling fan, then you probably haven't watched Dark Side of the Ring, but it is an outstanding
heard of? Mm-hmm.
documentary series about basically just different wrestlers, periods of events in wrestling, different influential people. But yeah, you just kind of learn about how shady and weird and fucked up that entire business was. Full
Mm-hmm.
stop. And it just, sad and fucking unfortunate stories like the Von Erichs. Um,
God.
so yeah, that's on
Um,
my list of things to see. I would, which hopefully remedy sooner rather than later. But
yeah. But what have you seen?
well, I've seen nothing really new. Excuse me, I did watch a movie Scalper for the Macabre Daily site. Be doing my review soon. It was fine. It's kind of a B grade slasher. Um, I have a lot of respect for the kind of I want to call it bootstrap. It's just more like efficient production uh, at the style.
Ingenuity, a low budget, run and
Yeah,
gun
and like the guy,
thing.
the writer, director, producer, Chad Farron, his movies aren't necessarily going to win any awards, but they're pretty consistent if you're into like high exploitation, you know, type movies done in a digital age. So I'll have my review up next week, but I'd say, good for a background watch for most. Um, I did do a review of so there's a new boutique physical media label called Radiance, which is started by I forget his last Simeone, who used to be like the head of content for Arrow Video, and he started
Oh,
off his own label last year, and it's called Radiance Films, and they did a
look at
um,
that.
4K. Now it's not a 4K disc; it's just a 4K scan of one of my favorite movies from the 70s, Messiah of Evil. And I think if anybody likes really just kind of dreamy, hazy, nightmare logic-y, like what the fuck is going on horror, then Messiah Evil is like it's not as shocking as movies today, but it certainly was the template for that kind of like really spacey, psychedelic kind of horror. And this,
Well, I've seen it, but I heard it's like a lost classic from
oh,
everyone
it was
that
written
tried.
by the people that wrote American Graffiti. And they also wrote the Raiders. They helped write, I think, Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of the Indiana Jones movies. Like this was this little movie that they just kind of got swept up and got released 3 years after it was made, which not uncommon necessarily in the industry, but
It's a major red flag usually, but
yeah. But and also the whole movie was just not didn't there's also a great documentary on the disc that's got like it's like about an hour that goes into not just like the movie but the historical context around it. I didn't realize how much it influenced other movies that came after it, and I'm blanking on it right now. But it was influenced by Night of the Living Dead, which then influenced Dawn of the Dead from George Romero. So it's kind of this weird cyclical like
mm-hmm.
anyway, I could go on about that movie. I also watched the new Vinegar Syndrome 4K UHD of The Existence, the Cronenberg flick.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I still need to pick that up.
have
Yeah,
you seen Existence?
not in a long time, but I remember I loved it.
I I don't know why I don't like this one as much as I feel like I should. It's not bad by any means. Like it's actually it's far more entertaining than it is not, but it also feels just like Videodrome for the video game age.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember it felt kind of like it came out around the same time as The Matrix, and The
yeah,
Matrix was like a black hole that swallowed everything up. But they are sort of similar. But this is like the indie lo-fi, literally Cronenbergian version of The
yeah.
Matrix.
And it's got
Mm.
some really like the whole like going to that market restaurant scene and like he orders the special, which not gonna ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's just kind of there's a lot of really interesting, weird Cronenberg stuff in it, but also the story is just kind of weak. Like it really is just like a rehash of Videodrome's plot, just set into like a slightly different context where it's more like a cat mouse rather than kind of this more mystery, noir kind of vibe. It still has the same output of conspiracy and manipulation, yada yada. So it looks great. It certainly is a very efficient 90-minute movie, that's for sure. It almost feels like it probably could have been longer. But great looking disc, so high recommend if you're a fan. And the last one I'll talk about is I rewatched this. I haven't seen this movie in probably 10 years, but A Clockwork Orange.
Mm,
You
cool.
know, I think I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that Kubrick is the most interesting filmmaker of all time. Like his
That's fair.
movies are for me, so few filmmakers can captivate me almost entirely for the entirety of their runtime, no matter what. Like, save for like some of his like The Killing is not my one of my favorites, but when you get into things even like Barry Lyndon, it's just like you can't take your eyes off the screen. And again, highly biased, but A Clockwork Orange, I haven't seen this in a while. And holy fuck, I forgot how horny this goddamn movie is. Uh, like way
Uh,
hornier than the book. Way hornier.
for its time, maybe one of the horniest movies ever made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Well, and
horny.
and like it's kind of a comedy. Like it's really dark and fucked up, but like structurally
It's a comedy
and
of
it,
errors.
grave errors. But yeah, I mean, I believe Kubrick knew he was truly making a comedy. Like this is from the director of Doctor Strangelove in a lot of ways.
So it kind of oh, I just had it in my head. Like you remember those Don Hertzfeldt like cartoons where it's like awful things happening to these stick figures and like it's really funny but it's really morbid. That's
Yeah.
what Clockwork Orange feels like. It's like, oh wow, this is I don't know why I'm like, why am I entertained by them like talking in this weird version of like ha
Iambic
Hackney Old
pentameter.
English while
Mm-hmm.
they're like beating up a homeless person, or just the whole like conspiracy like elements where he thinks his friends are plotting against him and they are, and like the
Mm-hmm.
giant fat like the phalluses literally everywhere. I mean,
He beats a woman to death with it, pretty much.
yeah, there, I
Yeah.
mean the symbolism, he literally throws it right
Mm-hmm.
into her face. So anyway, yeah. Highly recommend rewatching that if you haven't. And just an engrossing score too, like one of the weirder
Mm-hmm.
scores of the time that I don't know. Kubrick was certainly not a perfect person. But the work that he created, and kind of like Hitchcock, it's like it almost precedes, it does not excuse a behavior as much as it is just overwhelms that behavior. Like it's like, holy shit. This
Yeah.
is powerful, powerful shit. So anyway, that's what I've been watching. But
Well, oh, real quick, I almost forgot. I interviewed Felissa Rose and saw her do live commentary on Sleepaway Camp, and Victor Crowley with Dave Sheridan, which was rad. She was great, and it was just like we were watching Sleepaway Camp in a bar with our friend Felissa, and she's just giving tidbits and enjoying it. And she's funny, and it was just a really cool way to watch that movie that I've seen like a million times. So that's on the site. Check it out.
yeah, what was maybe your most memorable moment of the day?
Oh man. Um I mean interviewing her, absolutely. But like and like talking to her as like a fellow Long Islander because she's from Long Island, I'm from Long Island, and we're on Long Island. So like I always thought if I ever met her, I'd ask her what part she came from, but I got like the whole thing when I was there. And it was just cool. She's just like a genuine, no bullshit, just kind of chill person. And it was so funny because she had like a little mic on so I could record the conversation. And like, it's an event at this place, Necromantic Brewery. Shout out to them, who we love.
Yeah.
And like, the owner and Dave Sheridan are like moving a table. And it's not making a lot of noise, but like, like maybe like a little bit. And like while we're talking, she's talking and she's just eyeing them like, you know, like, like keep it down. And I'm like, oh, please, you're too kind. I'm like, thank you for treating me like the professional I'd like to think that I am. She's like, great, but like it was cool. She's the real deal. She's a sweetheart.
Well, yeah, yeah, it's a great interview and great work on it. And I do, Lo, you should give yourself more credit because you had a run of great interviews in 2023, and I'm sure will continue into 2024. So, speaking of this current year, I thought
Mm-hmm.
we would do a little because there's not a lot of news this time of year, especially for horror. It's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
slow return to life after the holidays. So I thought what we do is we would just play a little game of bomb or beloved. Is the movie coming up going to be bombed or beloved, and also is going to be something that's going to be kind of short term forgettable, or is it going to maybe have a long term more cult classic impact? So I got about 10 movies here to go through. Let me see. This should work. I've set this up already. All right, Lowell, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All
Lisa
right,
Frankenstein. Cannot
that
wait.
first one. All right. So do you think this is going to be bombed or a bomb or beloved?
I think it will be beloved. I'm already in the tank for it. I don't know how much money it's going to make. I don't know how well it'll be reviewed, but I mean, it's Diablo Cody and Zelda Williams directing, and it's called Lisa Frankenstein, which is just an incredible title. I mean, even before I saw the trailer, when I just heard the title and who was behind it, I'm like, yep, day one.
Could it potentially be a situation though where the title came first? And like, oh, this
Um,
is so good.
I can see that, but I believe in Diablo Cody. Even
Yeah.
her like lesser appreciated movies, I think, are pretty damn good. So, whatever she does, and therefore you got your Carla Gugino. and one of the Sprouse brothers. I don't know. I'm not sure which one, but he's funny in the trailer. So yeah, I'm in, and I think it's going to find its audience.
Yeah. Well, I think if this follows the trend of other Diablo Cody horror films, this will be popular in like 10 years. Um, unfortunately. But
God,
I have
Jennifer's Body is so good, but
it
yeah.
is, and I was never in the camp of like just outright slamming it because of Diablo Cody or any or Megan Fox. I just never saw it and for a long time because all the negativity around it kind of
Uh,
people's influence certainly does hurt. So anyway, do you
real
think this
quick,
is a good?
real quick, just because we're talking about Jennifer's Body for a second, I liked it when it first came out, but I watched it again a few years later, and I liked it more. And I watched it again a few years after that, and I'm like, it was really ahead of its time in a lot of ways, and it's just everyone's firing on all cylinders. It's the best Megan Fox has ever been, and she knows it. Just if you haven't seen, just watch, just freaking watch Jennifer's Body. Anyway, you
Yeah,
were saying.
yeah. So do you think this is going to have a short term? Like, is this going to be something that's just going to be quick and done, or is it going to be more of a cult classic?
I think it'll be a cult classic. I don't know how it's going to do out of the gate, but it's definitely going to find its audience if it doesn't immediately. I hope it makes a lot of money. I hope all horror movies make money because then we get more horror movies. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's the first one. This one comes out pretty soon, February 9th, so not too far away from now. Next up is the next Blumhouse joint, Imaginary. What do you think? Is this going to be bombed or beloved?
Uh, I don't know. I think maybe it'll have a good opening weekend, but I can't imagine we're going to be talking about it a year from now. I mean, we're barely talking about Megan, and it was the hottest thing to come out last January.
I
Uh,
saw I saw someone post like people do like anniversaries of movies being released in theaters, and someone did like 1 year ago today, Megan was released in theaters. I'm like, crowning achievement.
yeah, I'm writing a review now for a film that I think will be. It's called She Is Conan, and it's like a queer avant-garde French lesbian epic with female Conan the Barbarian, and I think it's going to inspire a lot of cosplay down the line. But it just got me thinking. Like a year ago, we thought Halloween 2023 was going to be just a parade of Megans, and not so much. And that's
No.
Barbie's fault. But yeah, the you never know where the new hotness is going to take you. I hope it's good. Hope it makes money. I kind of feel like it's going to be a short term burst of cash, and we're not going to hear anything else about it.
Yeah, I there's a part of me that like when it comes to Blumhouse films in particular, I there's always a part of me that's kind of like it's kind of like you're betting on the lame horse sometimes, and it's not like it's not to damn them with any faint praise, but it's like there's such a wild card with some of these movies that come out of the blue that this could be like because it's has such a weird premise that I just still don't really understand. It could be one of those like sleeper like Blumhouse fun ones. It's like, oh, this movie's kind of fucking kooky. Um, and it is
And
it
yeah,
is R,
I,
so
yeah,
I think
I like the Blumhouse. Just kind of yeah, I like the wild card aspect because they put out so much.
yeah.
It's like it's like New Line on crack. Also, we should point out we haven't seen these movies. We know
Yeah.
as much about them as you do. So
Yeah.
just by them, I'm sure the creators, the writers and directors of these films are like, "You're doing what?" I told them to cut the trailer like a different way.
Yeah.
No, so
To
sorry
be
to be
yes.
your existence, Jeff Wadlow.
Yes,
Don't need to.
that is a good disclaimer that this is pure fun speculation. We wish all goodwill upon these films regardless. Um Yeah, I'm hoping this is good, but I think it will make money simply because Blumhouse has such a efficient financial formula for these films that most of them do make money. And that's why they can continue making them. So I just hope it's, better than better than average, but I don't think it's going to stick around. I don't think we have a cult classic on our hands either. Next one. Can you see these next ones, or can you only see
I still see Imaginary.
all right, perfect. I've set up this screen share perfectly. All right, next one is the first
Uh,
by the way, Imaginary comes out on March 8th.
Mark,
So this is the first Omen. This comes out
F,
on
pass, pass. That's no. I could not be less interested. I think this got made because of The Exorcist Believer, and that made money, but the buzz around it wasn't great. So now it's just
I
kind
don't
of
know if did it turn a
up and out.
profit though?
I think so. Well, because didn't they cut it made like over 100 million, and they paid 400 million for the rights for like a 3 movie trilogy. So yeah, I mean it definitely
Yeah,
made back.
137 million. Wow.
I don't even know, is that worldwide or yeah,
Yeah,
but
worldwide.
anyway, no,
Domestically it was 65. So I think domestically it wasn't successful because I think it was production budget of wait,
but they
the
paid
production budget's 30 million, but yeah, there's also a $400 million price tag on the.
yeah. So it wasn't, I don't think, a smash, but it did make money. We're gonna get more, but this, I mean, and your trailer doesn't have any, like, it has the 666 showing up in the mouth, but like there's nothing else. It just looks like a generic possession movie, and I mean it's like 3 months away. This is the only tease that we get. Like, you're not even playing the score.
Hey, you
I
got Bill
mean,
Nye in there though. Charles
yeah, but
Dance, you got some real Euro talent.
yes, they filmed it in England. Good for them. I just, you know, you got two Lannisters in there, and the Green Knight, but I, I don't know. Once again, prove me wrong, but I'm not excited. I don't think anyone's really going to be into this. It just kind of feels like a cash in. So no money, no, just a bomb. I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think this will bomb because The Omen is not The Exorcist. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the same pull. Um, I do hope it's good, but I don't think it's going to be that memorable. This next one, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on. Return to Silent Hill. This one comes
Uh,
out
uh,
the end of April, so the 26th.
really, that soon?
I
Damn.
mean, as of right
Uh,
now, but that could change. These things are not set
mhm.
in stone.
uh,
I don't even know if we have a trailer yet, so
yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it. That Silent Hill Revelation was hot garbage. Uh,
but it
but
was in 3D.
yeah,
What do you
it was
mean?
three. Um, which sucks because I like the other stuff that the director MJ Bassett did, but this it just seemed like crap. But this is directed by Christoph Gans, who directed the first Silent Hill, which I kind of like. I don't
Hmm.
love, but I remember at the time it was I thought the best video game adaptation of a film.
Probably in the top 10.
Yeah, or I mean, well, that by the time you got to the bottom of the top 10, it's going to look real soggy. But like it was up there, flaws and all. So I'm kind of curious to see a return, no pun intended, to
The
that world.
Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
rim
eh,
shot.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much the original film is in people's memories. Maybe it's more so than I realize.
I mean, it
But
got a Scream Factory collector's edition, so
yeah,
that does
that's
have
true.
some clout.
And they are remastering Silent Hill 2, which I
Yeah.
haven't played, but here is one of the best horror games ever. So maybe there is an audience for this. It's up in the air for me.
I definitely think there's an audience, but I think it's an audience that's like TikTok interested or old nerds like me or you. So I hope this is good. I'm a big Christoph Gans guy. Brotherhood of the Wolf is one of my like I will die on that hill for that movie, despite its length. But yeah, I hope this is good. I do think this has potential to be a beloved movie, but at the same time, it could also, I mean, I don't think it'll bomb. I think it'll make money, but as far as like critically, I don't know where that'll land. Hopefully, though, it does have the same kind of cult classic feel that the original one does, because I think the original one by now would be considered a cult classic, given that it really never picked up massive mainstream appeal, but has enough clout in the genre to garner a pretty significant fan base.
Yeah.
All right, this next one, The Strangers Chapter One. So, what are you
Ooh.
thinking? Is this going to be bomb or beloved? This comes out, let's see, the May 17th.
God, and we haven't really seen trailers for these beyond like
It's just
a
this
clip.
little like tidbit.
I'm really curious. I think this is going to make money because
Oh, it'll make money.
it's an idea that, I mean, even though people haven't talked about The Strangers much in the past few years, Pray at Night was awesome, and that first one left like an indelible mark on horror at the time. And it's not supernatural; it's just like people in masks, and it's shown. I don't know how they managed to make it a franchise, but here we are. And I don't know how that new trilogy thing is going to go. I mean, I thought that worked well for Netflix because it's just one with Fear Street, because it's just one a week for 3 weeks. But I don't know. Are we getting all of them in a year? I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but I think this one will definitely be a hit. That's
I
my prediction.
think I think that we're actually are getting all three this year, if I'm not mistaken. But I also am not 100% sure on that. So who's to know? But yeah, I mean this will definitely make money. I mean The Strangers has a draw. Um I hope it's good. I just hope
Yeah.
it's not a rehash of the original, right? It just kind of feels like I am
Yeah.
interested by the Rennie Harlan component here
Oh yeah. 100%.
because the guy, he knows what he's doing behind the camera. Whether his movies, all of his movies are good is a totally different question. But I don't think that the movies that aren't good from him are because he's not a good director. I think it's because he's doing someone else. Oh, he's not much of a writer, so it's like he's really more of a director. So, um, if you
That's
give him
why I
the wrong
love.
script, you
Yeah.
know,
Like I mean, I don't need to tell you about how much I love Nightmare on Elm Street 4, but but The Long Kiss Goodnight, I love that movie.
so much fun.
And it seemed, but it works. One of the reasons it works so well is because he and Shane Black is just a match made in heaven. Like I feel like he knew exactly what Shane Black was going for, and it was just they totally clicked.
Yeah, I mean, cliffhanger's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Cutthroat Island's fun, even though it's
Yeah, it's
kind of
underrated for
yeah.
sure.
Um,
Oh, Driven. Forgot about Driven. But yeah,
yeah.
he's had a hell of a career.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm with you here. I think yeah, gonna be beloved. So A Quiet Place day one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hit. Next. Um yeah, it's the next entry in a franchise that hasn't run out of steam, from the director of Pig, which I loved. I was wondering what that guy's doing next. Yeah, a hit, a beloved, and honestly, I like The Quiet Place 2 better than A Quiet Place 1. I loved A Quiet Place 1. So, um, I don't know. I'm not a big prequel guy personally, but I guess that's kind of besides the point. Um, but yeah, it's yeah, start filling the coffers already. Start the pre-sale, and it's coming out in June. Like it's
Yeah.
a major summer horror movie. Yeah, this is going to make money. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gonna make money. I don't know how good it's gonna be though, because one of the things that so I really liked, I'm with you as I liked the second one far more than the first one. But at the same time, I uh I don't really love this world. Like like I don't love the creatures that much. I don't think they're super interesting.
Yeah, it didn't need to be a franchise.
Yeah.
It could have just
So
been one, but that's a good
so
idea.
like if it's maybe like I mean honestly it feels like if it's just gonna be like a disaster movie, which would be great, like that sounds like fun. Like that would be the next logical step here is to make this a full-on disaster. What happened the day that all this shit went down, you know? Like that's a monster movie. So I could be up for something like that. But oh let me see something. My cat is looking at some weird shit. She's just being a fucking weirdo.
Damn it.
Anyway, yeah, I think this will do well. I don't know if this will have a long-term impact unless this is just kind of because I also think that this franchise still hasn't like it makes a lot of money at the box office, but it it doesn't really have a lot of stickiness. Like, um, I don't know how much longer this the relevance of this is going to be like, oh yeah, because these are good movies, but these are not like masterpiece films
Mhm.
by a long shot. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I mean, they did make a maze out of them. So
Mm.
what the fuck do I know? All right, this one's a little controversial. The Speak No Evil remake.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I, mm, I don't know. I don't know why. I have complicated thoughts on that movie. I don't think it's going to be as dark as the original, um, but it's got an incredible cast. It can really
Yeah.
go either way, but I don't think it's going to make a ton of money. But it will definitely have its fans for whatever that's worth. But yeah,
The only way this will be good is if it somehow finds a way to take to switch the cultural context effectively while not while maintaining the nastiness. Because if it doesn't do any of that, then it just doesn't matter. Like also the and I am also in the camp that I don't think that this movie was that great to begin with. I thought the ending is wildly unbelievable. I
yeah,
don't know many
that
Europeans that would just take lay down and take it. So
yeah,
um yeah. Anyway, it has its fans, I guess. We'll roll through these next three. Alien Romulus. What do you
yeah.
think?
It'll make a lot of money, but I don't know, man. I mean, I they
Young people.
they had
That's the catch here, Lowell. It's young people this time,
no,
not olds.
I don't know, man. I mean, the xenomorph is a great creature, but I do something else with this franchise. I don't know. I don't know if you need a full on reboot. I don't know if we need to wait till Ridley Scott and James Cameron are long dead. But those two movies loom so large over every other movie with a xenomorph. So, I mean, maybe they're doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 route in space where they're not even trying to be like the originals. They're just making like an alien slasher movie in space, which fine, but I mean, I I don't
I
know.
mean, are we
I'd rather.
reading into this poster that there's going to be an alien grabbing a baby? And if
I'm
so,
pretty sure that
will it face punch it with its mouth? You know, like
I'm pretty sure it's not an official poster, but I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I even though I wasn't huge on Prometheus and Alien Covenant, I think we're better off getting the third in that series than whatever this is. But I don't know. Maybe it'll be great, but it'll make a ton of money opening weekend. I think at the very least.
I
Yeah, I don't
think
know.
that the saving grace could be Fede Alvarez because he does bring a fresh perspective to this, whereas Ridley Scott kind of gets too much Ridley Scott in his movies now. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the problem with Prometheus. And not so much Prometheus. I think Prometheus is a good movie that is just not an action, it's not an action sci-fi movie. It's just a sci-fi movie with
Mhm.
some light tense bits, some tense bits near the end. But even though Covenant's a more entertaining film, it goes off the rails in a way that just doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. And it's so like old man screaming at clouds because times are a changing by way of Michael Fassbender monologues that, you know, really just again don't make any sense. But nevertheless, I hope it's good. We'll see. This one I'm the most concerned about, to be quite
I
honest.
still don't believe it's real, honestly. Like, I know there have been set photos and stuff, but like, I to me, this is just a fever dream that we're all collectively experiencing.
It's because these
Um,
posters are like AI. This is like these look like AI generated photos. That's
these
why.
aren't, yeah, they are. These aren't real posters. A lot of stuff you find on
Oh, there it is.
IMDb
Yeah, there it is.
official. Yeah, it's it's just that's all we have to work with right now. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like,
Quite the fucking cast, though.
yeah, I don't know. I I hope it's good. I hope it's at least as good as Hocus Pocus 2, which we were all crossing our fingers for, and it was fine. It did the trick, you know. Just don't
Yeah,
suck. That's
just
but
don't
yeah,
suck.
I think it absolutely will make money. This I don't know if it's going to make any money, but like the Norseman, it's I think will be in perpetuity. I mean, Robert Eggers remaking Nosferatu, like slam dunk, slam fucking dunk, and he's wanted to make this for so long, and it fell apart several times. Like, yeah, man, that's I am all the way
This
in,
is
and
the movie I'm most excited about for this year. And that's not because I like this just there's nothing else that gets even close to the levels of so like what I love about movies, and I don't know how you feel about this, is that especially back when, we were younger, is you didn't really there's a lot of mystery around them. Like only through things like specific genre magazines or film trade magazines would you ever get any sort of like behind the scenes looks into what was going on. So you oftentimes were quite surprised by what was coming out, especially because trailers would come out like a year before a movie even gets released. And, you know, so I think that Robert Eggers movies are still the few movies that feel like an event in the film world. Like Barbenheimer aside, like an Eggers movie is kind of like, what the fuck am I going to go see? Because he's made three wildly different movies. And this one kind of takes a little bit from all of them and combines it into one. If you think about just the strangeness and the eeriness of the lighthouse, but like the gothic atmosphere of the witch with this kind of really violent and his ability to be visceral with the Northmen. Like I think this is could be the culmination of that. The only thing that could maybe take it down is that like maybe you should never want to make your dream, like maybe it's just like this is such a big
this
I
is
can't imagine someone like him taking on his dream project. It almost feels like the meticulous level of detail he goes into. Could it drive him mad? Could it?
or he pulls an Eli Roth with Thanksgiving, makes his dream project, and it fucking rules, and he gets the chance to make another movie. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm
I'm with
hoping
you.
for.
And I think this will be a cult classic as well. I think all of his movies have, even he's reached a point where just his name on a movie will
Oh
give
yeah,
it that status, even if they're even the bad ones. It's like we watch our favorite filmmakers' worst films, not because we love the movie, because we love them. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, cool. Well, we hope they all do well regardless. But we'll get to our topic for this month, which is not movies of 2024, but instead
Mm.
top five chase scenes in horror. So, Lowell, you pitched this one. I love it. Where did this idea come from? Any specific things come to mind where you had this idea from, or?
It was really thinking about the whole idea of hard chase scenes. Kind of came up for me recently with the last two Scream movies because people, I mean, a killer chasing a victim is a staple of any slasher film. I mean, it's part and parcel,
There's a
but
requirement.
yeah, well, but people pointed out that in Five Cream, Scream Five, technically there weren't any chase scenes, and they were like, "Well, I hope they bring that back for Scream Six," and they did. But I just kind of got to thinking, wow, there really aren't any chase scenes. There are set pieces for sure, but not the actual chasing of the victim. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I was thinking, well, what are the horror films that I love with the best chase scenes? The cat and mouse of it all. Well, not necessarily the cat and mouse, but like the not the stalking, but the explicit like the my requirement
Pursuit,
really is
the pursuit.
yeah, yeah, the one being chased has to know they're being chased. Or else I just count like, the entirety of It Follows or Halloween. You know what I mean? So
Was this
that's
difficult for you?
not really. The numbering kind of was placement, but otherwise, no. Some of them just sort of popped into mind pretty much right away.
This was really difficult for me because I have a hard time remembering. Well,
Mhm.
and I don't say that in a way like we should avoid these, like more like these are good exercises for me to like revisit
Mhm.
certain movies and think about them. But I did, but I also because I think I make it more difficult because I don't like the easy answer. I like my answer, you know. So I mean sometimes I have to go and like look for a little more things. So yeah, I've even got a runner up. But
Mhm.
yeah, let's start with you. What's your number five? So your bottom of the tops.
My number five is a bit of a dark horse. I don't know if people really remember it, but I love this sequence. Is Prom Night, when the killer chases the Wendy character through the school towards the end. Like it's on the actual prom night, and he's just chasing her through a dark school. And I think schools don't really get utilized too much for horror films beyond like Dream Imagery and Nightmare on Elm Street. And I mean, rightfully so, because I guess there's a
And the
lot of horror
faculty.
stuff. Yeah, and the faculty. Oh my God, 25 years old, by the way, and that new poster by Matt Ryan Tobin, it's $150. I'm like, God damn it, but oh, it
I
looks
know.
so good.
It's a beaut.
Yeah, and I mean, with school shootings, there's a lot of really terrible things happening with, schools recently. So, maybe it's not such a go-to, but in 1980, fuck it, we're killing teenagers with an axe all over the place. And
At
it was
school.
just at school, yeah. And I remember it just being like really well shot, scary, and yeah, one of the most memorable parts of that movie.
For sure, albeit not the world's best slasher movie, but definitely a
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
has parts.
Yes, yes, and that part is a good.
Well, for my number five, I'm going to go with the the factory scene in Child's Play 2.
Uh,
I think that this is one of the most fun like ways and this borders on like kind of being like a closing sequence, like a climax. Well, it is a climax sequence, but there is this kind of weird pursuit that happens throughout the assembly line and throughout the toy factory. And just how they get to that point, even like the car chase that leads them there, like it's just it's one of the better um, set pieces, but also involving like a toy factory. And this kind of like creates this weird claustrophobia, but also they use the space well to make it seem bigger. So yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this, and also it leads to a very satisfying conclusion, which I think is the most important part of a chase scene is either a big relief or a big death. So can't have both, but or maybe you have both, but can't miss at least one.
totally. My next one is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when Leatherface first appears and chases Sally through the fields, through the house, and to the barbecue place. Because it's just you're getting like little shocks throughout the movie, but that's when like shit just explodes. Like he just pops up out of nowhere, out of the dark, like only the light of their cars and like a little bit from the moon is showing, and like he just Leatherface just shows up, immediately chainsaws Franklin, and then the chase starts. And she goes through the house, and like you're so flipped out that you're like, it's like barely registering, like, oh my god, wait, that's the house. Are there going to be more people in there? Like, is she going to find her friend? And then it's just like for a movie that's like all about insanity, that's a really insane sequence. Um, and yet it's also like off-putting because as soon as she closes the door of the barbecue place, like you don't hear the chainsaw anymore. He's just gone. And looking back on it, it's like, oh, he probably just saw the sign and was like, oh, just going home. But it's just, it just ratchets up the tension up until you realize the secret of that place. But yeah, it's a great scene.
I mean, it all works on every cylinder because you have this like the gritty aesthetic of the way the film is even shot lends itself so well to that scene because it's hard to even kind of make out what's going on. Like you have that same purview of like of everybody else where you can't really see shit in the dark. But you
Mm-hmm.
still have that feeling of being chased and kind of looking behind your shoulder. It does that really well. So yeah, that's a fantastic choice. My next one is going to be probably on your list, or maybe this film will be on your list, but it's the giant man chase scene from It Follows. I don't know what else to call it. The the huge
The top.
giant guy, the tall guy.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm not a huge fan of this movie, can't deny, you know, a great scene when a great scene, and this is just it's very off-putting. It is so tense and it just keeps going. And yeah, the whole movie could be considered was one long chase scene, but I think
I
that
didn't put it
particular,
on the list, but that's absolutely true.
but I do think that particular part of it really sets up kind of you know, it's the first time you really feel the danger, I guess, of what's coming. It's not the last time for sure. There's certainly some really great scenes on by the beach, that also kind of present that slow chase but yeah, this is for my money a solid scene, even if you don't like the whole that it's part of.
Mm, totally. My next one, speaking of Scream movies, there's a lot to choose from with this franchise, but I went with Scream 2. The chase towards the end in the audio visual section of the college,
Oh, like
where
on the play, like the mock or the like kind of what was that?
um, when Dewey and Gale are like looking at the video, and then the killer pops up and chases both of them, and they're like going through like the soundproof booths below, and like the killer stabs Dewey like behind the glass, and Gale doesn't know until she turns around, and it's like she's hiding in the stacks down there, and it's just like really, really well done. That movie's so underrated.
It really
And
is, but it's also a series full of great chase scenes. Like,
yeah, totally. Yeah, that's my next one. What about you?
so staying on brand, I'm gonna go with Urban Legend, the Tara Reid death scene. Um,
Oh,
this is so I too kind of went down the rabbit hole of like, all right, well, there's these bunch of these 90s slashers, like that's pretty much what they did. Like that was their one of the fortes, if you will. So I saw a lot, my favorite death scene from that 90s slasher era is by far the Valentine sauna scene where she just gets, trapped in the sauna. Like, think that's just terrifying. But
dude.
um, but I think the Tara Reid like urban legend scene is just it's chase scene on chase scene on chase scene. Like it is a long scene. It's almost like 5 minutes. Um, she falls down off a flight of stairs, somehow doesn't break her legs while landing on these platform shoes she's wearing. It goes throughout the hallways, up different flights. I mean, it's all over the place. And of course, it has some great groveling and begging, which of course is essential. And Urban Legend is just one of the funner examples of that proto Scream slasher from the 90s. So I've been meaning to go. I rewatch this movie every few years just because I feel like that's a good span of time for whatever reason to kind of forget enough about it so that it feels fun again. But this chase scene is definitely a good revisit.
Hell yeah. My next one, I definitely wanted to include this franchise on here. Um, and there are a ton of like Scream. There are a ton of chases to choose from, and I couldn't decide between two of them. But man, I went with Friday the 13th, the final chapter. It was almost three because three has a great final girl circuit towards the end. But the one with Trish, Kimberly Beck from Final Chapter, that starts with the guy getting killed in the basement and goes all around the house and just finally ends the movie. It's so good. You know, you got Joe Zito directing like an act. I love it when action directors direct horror films, you know, even if they're not action directors yet, like Rennie Harlan. But like it's just really well shot, well paced. You know, he's running in this one, and it's just scary and no holds barred. Yeah, definitely the best in the franchise. Excuse me.
One of my favorites in the Nightmare franchise has to be the I think it's in Freddy's Dead where he gets sucked into the TV and is like
Oh
now
yeah.
playing with power.
Mhm.
Uh it's like, they're right. I did come across Nightmare on Elm Street in my preparation, but I'm like, I don't know enough of these chase scenes well enough to call them. So that's a solid one right there at the end of six.
Mhm. Yeah. Any Friday? Well, we'll see if there's Friday the 13th in
Not
there
on
for you.
mine, I'll tell you that right now. Because I always like to go unconventional, right? I looked at lists online. I'm like, yeah, these are good, but I also want trying to figure out what are my because that this next one speaks to me directly. It's Suspiria. The opening scene of Suspiria is a
Oh yeah.
fucking masterpiece of a chase scene. It's so disorienting. It's so weird. It's so colorful. Things don't really happen the way things would actually happen, like based on how physics works, but nevertheless, they're just fantastic. And it's just a full like hallucination. So it kind of doubles duty as being this amazing chase scene that also happens to be the cold open for the movie, pretty much. So yeah, that's certainly my number two. Keen to hear your top one though.
Um, you might be a little surprised, but my number one is Halloween 2
Oh,
from 1981. I know, and after I always kind of knew this is the one because it's the scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is drugged out of her mind, out of the bed. Michael stabs the nurse, lifts her up, and the ensuing chase that ends with her in the parking lot. Because I mean, I love the first one. I don't even see. I guess the obvious choice would be him crossing the street and her like running across the street through the house to get in. But I kind of don't really consider that a chase scene because it's just really static. She's running for a little bit, but then she's just trying to get into the house. Technicalities. But she's Laurie Strode, final
it's a
girl.
pursuit, maybe not a chase.
Yeah, yeah, and he's just taking his time. Um, but like, man, her just like on all fours, just like on drugs, having already survived this once tonight, and just trying to go like through the basement, through a window, and like hoping the elevator door closes. Like enough. Like man, 81's Halloween 2 is just it's so good. It's not Halloween, and nothing is Halloween, but for my money, that's one of the best horror sequences of the 80s. I mean, I'm sure I've said this before, but Halloween 2 gets a rap like people say that, oh, it's just aping the slasher movies of the day. It's like copying off what the films that copied off of Halloween. But I always thought, excuse me, to me, Halloween 2 was coming in like, all right, this is how it's done, children. Like that we're not aping anything. We're gonna show you why you aped from us in the first place.
I would
And
agree. I think
mm,
Halloween 2 doesn't get enough of its flowers, largely because it has to have the unfortunate placement of being after
yeah,
the first one. But
and
nevertheless, which
yeah,
what?
the twist that John Carpenter got drunk one night when he was stuck, and he's like, "I'll screw it, their brother and sister." Like it took years to recover from that, which was unfortunate. But that's why I don't know. I don't know if Halloween would be like a direct sequel to the original if that twist wasn't in the second one. You know,
Yeah.
like if ever included that, maybe they would still have it be a sequel to two because two is worthy. But they did that with H2O. But anyway, that's my answer. Halloween two. What's your number
Well,
one?
that's a solid answer. My number one is also somewhat unconventional. It is the chase sequence between the Forest Demon and Ash in Evil Dead 2. The first one. Um, it's a bit unconventional because it's not necessarily two people being like one chasing another, but essentially this presence chasing um, Bruce Campbell. And this is so much fun because he slams the door, bursts right through the door, slams the window. It just kind of keeps it's this unstoppable force, and it makes this highly entertaining and also highly influenced by the slapstick like Three Stooges, which of course Raimi and company are huge fans of. So
Hey,
it has whoop, 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 like it's just it's all over the place. But yeah, I just thought like, wow, if there's one chase scene that really kind of ratchets up the tension quite a bit and puts you in the driver's seat. It's 100% the Evil Dead movies, but I had to pick one of them. I'd say it's the sequence Evil Dead 2 because it just goes a little bit above and beyond what they could have done, what they could do in the first one. And you get a lot more of that visceral kind of resistance from between Bruce Campbell and the Force rather than just kind of it being a pursuit to the door and then banging on the door kind of thing.
yeah, just
So
genius.
yeah, just pure genius. And of course, they invented a whole film technique that's been used ever since. So, I don't know if I don't know if they invented it, but let's say they were the first to put it on film because who knows who really
They
invents anything these days.
or perfected it. I don't know what
Yes,
synonym but yeah, they Raimied it. They
they
Raimied it
Raimied
hard.
it. They Raimied it so good it was never Raimied differently again. So, um, yeah, those are our top five chase scenes. Was there anything that, any surprises from our list or from my list for you, Lowell? Any you're like, wasn't think that, hadn't thought about that one.
I never really thought about the opening of Suspiria as a chase scene because you don't know what it is. I mean, I guess I have to rewatch it. It's an incredible scene. I just never really considered it like, you
She's running
know,
away. She's trying to get away.
yeah,
She's trying to get let in. She's like, something's after me. Something's after me.
yeah, or maybe, well, yeah, that's the thing. You don't know what it is that's chasing her, but she is being chased. I have to rewatch that. There's a Dario Argento documentary coming out on Shutter next month. That have you heard about this? I think the
Oh,
trailer's right. It's like Dario Argento Panico, I think. And
I'm in.
I yeah, I think this is the month I try to watch some giallos because I don't know why I haven't seen many of them, and I feel like as a slasher fan, like they would be up my alley. Like I should be at least somewhat versed in them. Oh, and this is just tangent upon tangent, but that new 4K of Della Morte Della More.
Oh,
Oh,
actually,
mo-
I just watched The Church, um, which is
oh
one
yeah.
of my favorites of those two. The Sect is a little slower, but The Church has the best third act of any of almost. I'm not gonna say any horror movie because that's hyperbolic. The third act of the church is one of the best endings of any Italian horror movie of all time. It is so fucking weird. It's like, and they no one is spared. Kids are fucked over, like old people, like it doesn't matter. There's just so many weird parts in it. So, but I haven't watched the Della More. Uh, yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I have. I just got the set in, and it's beautiful. Just
Oh yeah. Finally. And I mean, it's 2024, so here's hoping for that 40th anniversary Nightmare on Elm Street set. If we don't get it
if it's
this
not
year,
this year, it's not happening for another
ever.
five.
Yeah, yeah. I but yeah. Yeah, I mean no, but otherwise no real surprises. I mean, no, I shouldn't say no real surprises because I didn't know what you were gonna say. But yeah, I know this was hard for you, but you did great. And I'm proud of
Well, thank you.
you.
Thank you. It was a good exercise to again think abstractly about horror movies and chases.
Mhm.
So with that, I'm not sure what we'll do next month, but we always seem to figure it out. So
We
from
do.
our horror households to yours, be safe, be good, and above all else, watch more horror movies. Adios.
Later.